Thank you for joining us for 10 Minutes with the Artist, an episodic series that explores the art practice and the personal vision that guides artists. On today's episode, we're very proud to have Brooklyn Burmeister, who is completing her master's in architecture at North Dakota State University. We invited her here today to speak about her research and the creation of artifacts in preparation of her defense. Brooklyn's work examines the industrialization of food and the culture of waste that makes overproduction and overconsumption possible. Her performance in interactive sculpture is a monument to the nourishment, community, and culture the dinner table represents, and the gluttonous lifestyle that threatens its relevance and even its existence. I'm Anthony Ferris, and this is 10 Minutes with the Artist. Thank you so very much, Brooklyn, for joining us on 10 Minutes with the Artist.
Yeah, thank you.
So, is the dinner table an altar?
I think it was driven from the altar. The idea of a community coming together and sharing something very important and making some sort of exchange, an important exchange that I feel like should be remembered, happens at both.
Okay. Your work explores the ideas of production, consumption, waste. I think that'd be pretty fair to say. With your piece, which is also part performance, you have a turkey, but then it's eaten, and the bones, are sort of the remnants, like the proof of the process. But I don't really see a lot of waste there.
Right. I see it as things that are normally viewed as waste, but were then, through this creation that I made, it's a way of showing that they don't have to be considered waste. It's a type of showing how a ruin, which is the site of my architecture, which my artifact is informing, this ruin doesn't have to be seen as waste. It can be instead seen as an event in the life, and you can use those memories or those remnants to inform this transformation into the present and then the future.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit? Was the eating a public event, or was it something that people did privately?
Well, it was public for each person in their family or whatnot. So public and private, but the memories for each person are different. So the bones that are laying in my artifact are memories of each person's private meal, but then all of those memories together create some sort of public event.
Okay. The work, when you're looking at it, I know that there's a performance element to it, and it also seems like there's an interactive part to it. But when I'm looking at it as a static object, it's kind of hard for me to imagine how that interactive component sort of fits in. So can you talk a little bit about like the plastic tubes and the rope and the silverware?
Yeah, I say if you look at the artifact as it just sits, it looks like an aesthetic object. It's not moving or doing anything like that, but I think you're very aware when you look at it, the process that went into it, and it's all about this past event that happened and this time that has gone by since this past event that is still remembered there. So I think you interact with this almost still image, and your imagination makes it move. You see these overturned cups with these like prints of a hand in it, so you see this movement that previously occurred within the artifact.
Okay. I've been to Moroccan restaurants and Japanese restaurants where you're actually sitting on the ground as you're eating. Is this piece sort of representational of a table on the ground? Why is it located so far below, my sort of physical?
Well, I didn't want to just make our normal dinner table that we have here in America, because I wanted it to represent the tables that anyone has, which can be a range. So I kind of went with where the table came from, the altar, and how there was this space, and then all down below was where all of the remains went through these conduits and pits. So I kind of wanted to create this conduit system and pit that held the waste or the remains. They didn't usually use it as waste. They saw it as something that they could continue to use in other ways, mostly for in remembrance.
Okay. As I mentioned originally, there is an element of time and performance that goes into this. I mean, not only is there the sort of consumption, but there's the cooking, that goes into it beforehand. There's the eating. There's the bleaching of the bones, I'm guessing. So is all that necessary in the work, or could it just be a static object? So I have to understand all of those things that are going on in order to sort of have a relationship with your piece.
I'd say one thing that I've realized through the making of this artifact is this kind of cyclical method that I ended up using. The process that I went through, it ended up being this taking of something that exists and ordering it, and then separating it out, and then reinterpreting it, reordering it, or transforming it into something new. So I would take something that was, somewhat scattered, and form an order out of it. And I'd say I did that with these bones, and they had an extra step in there, which was a purification process almost. So that was one thing that I've studied throughout, which is what I did with the PVC tubes as well. This forming an order and then kind of letting it naturally fall once I've created this order, and letting it kind of do what it wants within time.
There's almost, seems with the color scheme to be a similarity between the bleached bones and the structure of your altar. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, I do see a similarity between these bones and the PVC, and I think you see the bones and you relate that to the bones in your body. It's not very often that we come across a cleaned bone just laying there. You have the ability to touch it if you want. And then you see the similarity between the bone and the PVC, and it almost, to me, makes me feel like this table is like a living machine. It's not dead. It's still alive. It's still breathing. It still has. It's just another event that occurred in the life of this table.
Okay. Well, at the end of our interviews, we'd like to ask a few questions just about your creative practice. So, what time of day do you feel like you're most creative?
Well, if I wake up early enough, between 10 and 1. Otherwise, I'm always best from 10 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m. That's
Okay.
my best.
Do you listen to music or anything like that while you're making work?
Sometimes. It depends. I don't like it to distract me, but I've been listening to Explosions in the Sky lately. They don't have lyrics, so it's just this nice, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, just this nice transition.
Okay. Is there anything that you're reading right now?
Basically just articles for my thesis at the moment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you want to recommend to to our viewers?
Oh, one book that I've been interested in is called Eating Architecture. It's a bunch of essays about how architecture and food and cuisine are all linked.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good one.
What was the most challenging thing that you found in the use of materials in creating this artifact?
It takes a lot of time to work with materials and figure out exactly how they work. You have to, do something and then listen to how it's responding. You can't really force a material into something. So it's one of the funnest parts, but it's also very time consuming.
Yeah. And then I guess my last question would be, what's next for you?
Well, I'm really interested in this whole food exploration, and it's pretty new for me, and I think I'll continue looking at this whole consumption and production within our society and how they've distanced themselves and maybe how they can be brought back together.
Okay.
So.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much. I'd like to thank Brooklyn, and I'd also like to thank you all for your time and your interest in the professional practice and the creative explorations happening here at North Dakota State University. So, thank you all very much, and for everyone here at the Memorial Union Gallery, keep creative.